All right, let's talk about how we can create a function that can sort infinite categories. So to understand this, you need to understand how sort works first and how recursive functions work. So this is a standard way to sort. I have an array of data, and now I'm sorting it by score. This is the standard way. So if we look here, scores are sorted from least to greatest, right? But now I want to sort it so that, hey, sort the scores, but if two scores are equal, you need to sort by age, okay? So in this case, Kenbo, age 90, should come before Tony, age 200. And here's how we can do that. I will paste a function for you, and then we'll walk over the function. Okay, so here is my infinite sort. And here, you see how I have two arguments. We're now sorting by score and by age. If we look at the first sort, Tony is the first one. If we look at the second sort, Kenbo is the first one, okay? Because scores are now the same, so sort by age. Lower number goes first, that's Kenbo. So Kenbo goes first, okay? All right, now let's talk about how we can write this function. Let me delete this. Okay, let me move this over just a little bit. All right, so why did our function work? Well, we have to understand how sort works. So sort takes in a callback function as its first argument. Now, the callback function can either be a function definition with two arguments, like how we have here, but it can also be a function call that returns a function definition. So that's why we have function infinite sorter, and it will take in the arguments that we're going to spread out. So we can take infinite arguments, right? We'll call these category. Okay, now, right away, because we're going to put this inside of sort, it needs to return a function definition right away. So it needs to return a function. I would use an arrow function, object1 and object2. Okay. Okay, now, this works because when you call infinite sorter inside of sort, it will return this function. And because we're still inside of sort, obj1 and obj2 will directly refer to this first object and this second object, respectively, right? So now inside, I can do something like const. I'll just call this A, and that's going to equal to category. Actually, it's going to be equal to obj1, which is the object, at category, which is the category that we want to sort by, like age and score, at 0. We need at 0 because remember, we use the spread operator. So our arguments or categories will be an array. Okay. So in the case of A, if we're sorting by score, A will be 100. Now we need to compare it with something because remember, sort requires two arguments. So B will be object 2, still at category 0 because we need to compare the two scores. Right. Okay, so now we can do if A is less than B, return -1. If A greater than B, return 1. Now, if A is equal to B, we're going to return 0. But before that, let me show you something. If we do if category.length is greater than 1, then we're going to run something. Now, why do we need this if statement? This if statement allows us to sort by more than one category. Because remember, our variable category is an array of arguments that the users passed in. Okay, so if it's greater than 1, that means we're trying to sort by more than one category. So how can we do that? Well, we need to return this function call recursively. So I'm going to return infinite sorter, but what am I going to pass in? Well, let's do an example. If we're trying to sort by, let's say, age and then score, right? When this first runs, the length of our category will be 2. Okay. Then A will be the age. Okay. And then we're going to compare the age. And this will run if the age is equal. Okay. If the age is equal, we want to call this function again, but we only want to pass in score and whatever else is left. Okay. So we're going to take out age and pass in the rest. So the easiest way to do that is we have to spread it out with the spread operator. and then we do category dot slice at index 1. Okay, so this will remove index 0 and copy the rest of the array. All right, but we're not done. Why? Because infinite sorter returns this function. So we also have to call that as well. And we can just call that under here. And we can call that passing in obj1 and obj2. And this works because we're still inside of sort. So obj1 and obj2 will be these objects once again, right? Now, after this if statement, now we can return 0 if they match, okay? So now data2 is equal to data.slice. I copy the array. So now I'm sorting by score and age. Okay. Kenvo and Tony have the same score, so they're being sorted by age, right? The lower age comes first. If you notice the second Kenvo, even though its age is 5, it's all the way down here because we're sorting by score first. It has a really high score. Okay. Now, what if our score and age is the same, right? Then I want to start sorting by alphabetical order, right? So let me change the age to also be 200. And then down here, I will add in another argument called score. Oh, not score, name. All right, so now you see Kenvo goes first, right? First, it's sorting, it's sorting by score. All the scores are equal. Then it checks age, all the age is equal. Then it starts to sort by alphabetical order because that's what we have here. Okay. This function is really cool because you can just sort by one argument as well. Name, now it's sorted by name, right? Okay, now you need to remember that our function, infinite sorter, only works if you call it inside of the sort method. This is not your own sort function. This function is meant to work in conjunction with how sort works internally. Because one, internally, sort allows you to call a function as long as that function returns a proper function definition. But why do we need to call a function first that returns another function? Because when we call infinite sorter, it allowed us to pass in as many arguments as we want using the spread operator. And then thanks to closure, right, our second function that we return still has access to our outer functions category. So that allows us to check the length and call this function recursively, right? And also to prevent our recursive function from running forever, this if right here is actually our guard clause, okay? This if will not run if the length is only 1. So right now, we're just sorting by name. So this part doesn't even run. I can just comment this out. Look, and it still works. This is only for when you're trying to sort by more than one category. Okay? If you take this away, this just becomes a normal sort function. Okay? But this little bit right here, that's the good part. Okay, I hope that was useful.